Hey guys, I hope that you're doing amazingly well. It's Jimmy here, and I hope that you've been enjoying my course. I hope that I gave you a lot of value. Now, I'm making a video that a lot of you have requested me to make. So even though in this course we are talking primarily about your inner confidence, a lot of you have been asking me about being confident in the context of doing online video meetups, doing video presentations, etc. And I know that during the COVID pandemic, a lot of you have to work from home. A lot of you are doing all types of online meetups. Some of you are even doing presentations online. And I know that it can get very scary, very frustrating and uncomfortable to do online presentations, but even to run a regular online meetup on Zoom. A lot of people tell me that they get freaked out, that they don't like to see themselves in the camera, that they don't know where to look when they are doing the meetup, that they cannot collect their thoughts. So I'm gonna address all of those issues in this video. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna give you a bunch of tips, actually a lot of tips in terms of how to become more confident during your online presentations and meetups. I'm gonna talk to you about optimizing your space for your online meetups and presentations. I'm gonna give you a bunch of other tips as well. So I hope that you'll enjoy it. And once again, if you have any other questions, if you want me to make any bonuses, do let me know. I wanna keep improving my courses. This is not one of those things that you build a course, you release it and you forget about it. No. I have a mindset of never-ending improvement, but to do that, I need to get your feedback. So do let me know. And by the way, in case you're wondering, I'm on the La Palma Island in the Canary Islands. After spending a lot of time on a lockdown in Germany, I decided to come here. It's been a month now, and I decided to take this opportunity to make some bonus videos for you guys. So let's get started. Now, the first tip I want to talk to you about is very simple yet very powerful, and it's a simple fact that when you are doing some type of online meeting or presentation, even if you feel stressed out deep inside, people don't know how you feel. Now, this may sound overly simplistic, but it's not, because just the awareness that people don't know how you feel deep inside will make you feel more confident. So let's say that in 10 minutes from now, you have this Zoom meeting and maybe you're the host of the meeting and your boss will be there and maybe a bunch of other people will be there. Maybe you even have to deliver a little presentation and you feel freaked out and your heart is beating faster and you have stomach cramps and you're sweating profusely and you just feel extremely uncomfortable. Now, it's very easy to make an assumption that everyone will be able to see how bad you feel. But when you just remind yourself that no one can see how you feel, that even though you feel stressed out deep inside, no one can see it. And you see, even if you're sweating, the reality is that people won't be able to notice it. No one will pay any attention. And when you remind yourself of that, it gives you that extra layer of confidence, because you know that, hey, I may feel not very confident deep inside, but it doesn't matter. They don't know it. And this paradoxically increases your confidence. Now, the second tip is kind of connected to this, because you need to remember that even if you make a mistake, even if you make a blunder and everyone can actually see it, maybe you mess up your words, maybe you get a bit awkward for 5 seconds. We've all seen those situations. Maybe you experience them yourselves when you say something and then you start mumbling, or you stutter a little bit, or you are silent for 5 seconds because you feel weirded out and your heart is beating faster and you don't know what to do, right? If that happens, you have to remember that even though that awkward situation may feel like it's taken forever, in reality, it usually lasts just for a few seconds, okay? So if you, let's say, get weirded out and you make a long pause and you don't know what to say next, in your head, it feels like it's like an hour of silence. In reality, most people think that you're simply taking some time to gather your thoughts. No one is really judging you and thinking, oh, he or she is really struggling and that person is getting a panic attack and they don't know what to say. No one is thinking this, right? People just simply assume that, oh, you're probably just taking some time to really think things through. When you remind yourself of that, that gives you a lot of power. And another thing I want to mention here, and this is really important, that even if people see that something is wrong, even when they see that you may be getting a bit stressed out, you may be feeling a bit of pressure, this paradoxically makes them bond with you more, okay? People relate to other humans. People don't relate to perfection. So if you try to be perfect, if you appear perfect to other people, you're not relatable. On the other hand, if you make a little mistake, if you get awkward for a few seconds, that's actually fine, because all of those other people loosen up. They see, oh wow, that person is just a human. And I know it sounds counterintuitive and you probably don't want to be in that situation, but just by reminding yourself that if you are imperfect, that makes you human, therefore it connects you to others, that in itself will give you a lot of power. Now, the third tip I want to talk to you about is practicing. And when I say practicing, what I mean by this is when you do any type of Zoom meeting or Skype meeting or any type of online presentation, you got to take it seriously. You got to treat it as if it's a regular meeting. Because, see, a lot of people think that just because it's online, it's not that serious. And what often happens is that if you're doing a regular meetup where you meet people face to face, you practice, you take it seriously. You want to get yourself into the right state. But because you don't take online events seriously, when you actually show up, you realize that, oh, I'm actually not prepared. I haven't practiced. I don't know what I'm going to say. Or maybe you meet with a bunch of people that you don't know. Perhaps you have a meeting between different teams and you know only 2 people and you don't know the other 8. And at some point someone says, why don't you introduce yourself? Because they don't know you. And you could have anticipated that question and you could have prepared yourself for it, but you haven't. You haven't done the homework. You haven't done enough practice. So what I want to stress here is that it is extremely important to take all online meetups very seriously and to prepare. Now, one thing about preparation, and this is powerful. When you prepare, don't just prepare in the offline mode by yourself with no pressure. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to create a little bit of pressure in your preparation, because whenever you practice, you want to make it as close to reality as possible. So I'm going to give an example, right? So a few months ago, I was delivering this online presentation at this big online summit. And obviously, it was impossible for me to practice in front of real people because we were on a lockdown. But because the presentation was online, I figured, how can I increase this perceived discomfort due in my practice, so when I actually deliver the presentation, it's not gonna feel so strange, so uncomfortable. And what I did was pretty clever. So I went to this one coffee shop. You know, back at that time, coffee shops were still open in Germany, so I sat outside. There are quite a lot of people there. I opened my laptop, I put on my headphones, and I practiced my entire presentation in that coffee shop in front of my laptop, as if I was doing a real presentation in front of a live audience. Now, people who were sitting in that coffee shop, they didn't know that I was just practicing. They legitimately thought that I was doing some type of online presentation. Now, it wasn't too loud. I didn't want to be obnoxious, but people around me could clearly see that I was doing something important. So from time to time, they were kind of peeking at me. They were trying to figure out what was going on. Now, that in itself put additional pressure on me, because I felt like, damn, now those people really think I'm giving a real presentation. I have to deliver. I have to keep going till the end. And because of that extra pressure I put on myself during my practice, it gave me so much confidence when I had to deliver the real presentation online, because it felt like I was already in that boat. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you jump into cold water. When you jump into cold water for the first time, it feels very cold. But when you just keep jumping in and in and in, after some time you adjust to the new environment. The water doesn't feel cold anymore. In fact, you start feeling warm. And this is exactly what happened to me, because I was practicing in this uncomfortable environment. When I have to enter the really uncomfortable environment, meaning a real life presentation in front of a live audience, I was prepared, I was ready, and I felt comfortable. So this is how you should practice your presentations and live events. Put some discomfort on yourself, and you can do it in a variety of ways, right? If you can go to a coffee shop and replicate what I've done, great. If you are on a strict lockdown, or for whatever reason you don't want to go to a coffee shop, what you can do is you can practice by pushing your comfort zone on a Facebook Live or Instagram Live, right? You can simply go online and you can talk to your friends, and that in itself will push your comfort zone a little bit. So when you have that real presentation or real virtual meetup that is actually important, you will not feel like you are jumping right into the cold water, okay? Another thing to remember, and this is extremely powerful and a lot of people miss out on this, is that when you are doing online calls or video presentations, first impression really matters. It's just like in real life. So when people see you, and if the lights are dimmed and your face is not very visible, and your audio quality is bad, people will not think, oh, too bad, you know, oh, he or she is on a lockdown, they probably don't have great equipment, not a big deal. No. Subconsciously, people will judge you for that. People see you, if they can't see your face clearly, if they can't hear you clearly, subconsciously they will feel like, well, maybe you are not a quality person. I know it sounds weird and no one wants to hear it, but we judge the book by its cover, right? And that's why it is so important that your first digital impression is very powerful. And in order to make it powerful, you have to make sure that your setup is correct. So what you want to make sure is that your audio quality is perfect, and it doesn't cost a lot to make it happen, right? You can get a basic microphone and make it a reality. You want to make sure that there is some source of light in front of your face. You see, one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they have light behind them. Like even right now, I'm filming, the sun is right over there. So you can see me clearly, but if we positioned ourselves differently, if the camera was over there and if I was facing that direction, you wouldn't be able to see my face because the sun would be behind me, right? So no matter what environment you are presenting from or doing meetups from, make sure that the source of light is always in front of you so it lights up your face. And if you remember about those really basic things, then you will create that really good first digital impression. But it goes beyond that, okay? Obviously in this course, you know, our goal is for you to become more confident, but also for you to become more successful as a person in general, right? So if you really want to optimize your video calls, you want to make sure that you use body language. So for example, right now, you can see my hands, right? You can see that I'm gesturing. When I say certain things, I really believe in what I say, right? I really speak with my entire body. And the mistake people make when they present in front of a camera, when they do virtual meetups, is that they literally crop just their face. So you can see just the face, and very often, as I said before, there's no light, so you can barely see the other person. The audio quality is not good. And because of that, you can't really feel that the person is talking to you. What you want to do is you always want to make sure that you move the laptop a little bit away from yourself, so at least your hands are visible. And the simple reason is that when you talk to someone, even on a video, when they see your palms, they are more likely to trust you. And the reason is that, you know, it's hardwired in our brains. Back in the day, when we were very tribal, if you met another tribe, you wanted to see their palms just to make sure that they don't have any weapons. Because if somebody approached you like this, or like this, then you never know. Maybe that person has a knife over there. Maybe there's a little gun or something else. Maybe there's a stone over there. But if someone approached you like this, it basically meant, I come in peace, I have no weapons, I want to be friends. And it's hardwired in our brains. So even nowadays when you do a video call with someone and you cannot see their arms, or you see their arms but they have this close position, it's very difficult to find common ground with that person to truly connect. On the other hand, when you see someone's full posture, when you see that the other person has an open position, you see their palms, it makes you trust them more. They seem more open, they seem more positive, and also they seem more confident and charismatic. So if you embrace that open body language, if you show your palms, then you are more likely to build a connection with the other person or with the audience in case you are presenting, okay? So this is really powerful. Another tip I want to give you, and as you see, I have a lot of tips for you. I figured I'm making this video, I may as well give you as much as possible here. Another tip is that when you present or when you interact with people online, for example on Zoom, you have a huge advantage of being able to have some notes in front of you, okay? Now a lot of people make a mistake of having too many notes in front of them, right? They literally read what they want to say and others can't clearly see it, especially if you present. And if you're just reading from your notes, people can see it. You have absolutely no charisma, and you just don't come across authentic. People can see that you're reading, but you can cleverly position bullet points, for example, on post-it notes behind your laptop or next to your laptop to remind yourself of some of the most important points that you want to mention during your presentation or meeting. And what you can do as well, and I like to do it myself, you can have a cup of tea or a glass of water, and whenever you're talking, whenever you want to collect your thoughts, or whenever you want to look at some bullet points to remind yourself of what you want to say, you take that cup of tea or a glass of water, you take a sip, but as you're taking a sip, you can look at different points, around your laptop to remind yourself of your bullet points. This is really powerful. And by the way, if you lose the composure, because this happens to a lot of people, a lot of people in my courses have been messaging me about being awkward and feeling anxious. And this is something that happens to a lot of people. You have that online presentation, you have that big Zoom meetup, and suddenly you feel the blood rushing and you feel your stomach cramping and you feel utterly uncomfortable. You know the feeling, right? You feel like you just want to run away. You want to close your laptop, pretend there's some issue, you just want to run away. Now, if you feel like this, you can take that glass, you can take a sip, and people just assume that you're thirsty. That's it. Nobody will really think too much of it, but you can take a sip, you can take a deep breath, and you can regain your composure. Another tip that just came to my mind, and this is, by the way, really powerful. If you ever get freaked out when you talk to people on a Zoom call, what you can do is you can also minimize the window. So the feeling when, say, you talk to a big team, you talk to 15 or 20 people on a Zoom call, and you see all of those faces, and it can get intimidating, right? It feels like you're really talking to a full room of people. What you can do is you just minimize the window, and it makes it less intimidating. And I use it myself from time to time. I have my bad days. I'm just a human. I'm not some machine, right? I mean, sometimes when you see my presentations, you may assume that I literally jumped out of my mom's womb with a microphone. It was always easy for me, but as you know from some of my other videos, it wasn't always the case. I used to have social anxiety. I used to struggle with confidence issues. Even one time I ran away from a stage. So I still haven't figured everything out. I still have those days when I have to deliver a big presentation, or I have a big meetup on Zoom with a lot of people and stakes are high and I don't feel at my best. Maybe I had a late flight and I haven't slept enough. Maybe I have a headache, right? Whatever it is. So when situations like this happen to me, I like to minimize that window so I don't see all of those people staring at me, and this in itself makes me feel more comfortable. So if you struggle with anxiety, if you struggle with awkwardness, if you struggle with confidence issues, this will help you. Also, some people feel freaked out when they see themselves. So when you talk to someone on Zoom or when you do some type of video presentation and you literally see yourself on a camera, like you see yourself on the screen, a lot of people get freaked out. A lot of people don't like to look at themselves. A lot of people, and by the way, maybe you're one of them, have limiting beliefs about how they look, how they are projected. If that's the case, if you minimize the window and you just focus on looking at the lens, then you will take a lot of stress away from yourself, okay? As you can see, this video has been pretty long. I really want to give you as much value as possible, but there are two more things I really have to mention here, okay? Very important, very basic, but a lot of people forget about those things. Now, the first thing is that whenever you are doing an important call, you have to make sure that you double check your technology. And the simple reason is that I had situations myself when I was about to jump on a very important call and then the Wi-Fi stopped working, right? Or my microphone wasn't working, or there was some issue with my setup. So you always want to make sure that you double check those things in advance, and ideally do it in a real way. So rather than just double checking, when you go to Zoom, you can go to preferences and you can make sure that the mic is set up properly. Rather than doing just that, I like to actually call up someone to make sure that everything is fine. So, for example, I would call up one of my family members or one of my friends on a video call on Zoom just to make sure that everything is working well, just to make sure that the audio quality is fine, just to make sure that the Wi-Fi works perfectly well, and in case it doesn't, I still have some time to fix it. Now, speaking of which, I also believe in having a backup plan, right? So ideally, and of course I know not all of you can do this, but ideally you want to have a separate microphone, a separate source of light. Ideally, you want to have some type of mobile internet as well. So when you have that very important meeting or presentation, if your tech disappoints you and stops working, at least you have an insurance option. And finally, you want to make sure that whenever you do some important call, you communicate it to anybody who lives in your household. And that's crucial, because we've all seen those situations. There's some funny videos out there on YouTube, by the way. Just search for it on YouTube. There's so many fun videos of, you know, people doing Zoom calls, and then suddenly a naked spouse walk in, or the dog goes crazy, or a bunch of kids just roll in with all types of toys while, you know, the dad is doing a BBC interview. There are a lot of those stories, and, you know, they're funny to watch for us, but they're certainly not funny for those people. When they're in those situations, they probably felt like they just wanted to disappear. So you want to avoid those situations from happening, and that's why you always want to make sure that you clearly communicate to everyone in your household, listen guys, I'm gonna be doing an important call. Please don't disturb me. Please don't be too loud. This is very important to me. You know, recently I was also in Canary Islands, in another island, Gran Canaria, with my girlfriend and my very good friend Tom. And at some point I had a bunch of really important calls. I was doing online summits and I was negotiating this really big deal as well. And I said, hey Tom, just so you know, tomorrow I'm doing really important calls. I need to make sure that I have my space here. And he said, oh, really? I'm also doing important calls tomorrow. What time? And we realized that if we didn't communicate properly, then we would have had a big problem, because Tom is also a very loud guy. And even though, you know, we had a bunch of rooms in a flat, it wouldn't be enough. The walls were very thin and there would be definitely noise, right? We would have a problem. And we avoided that problem by clear communication. So as simple as it sounds, just make sure that whenever you have something important, let everyone know, so at least you don't need to stress about somebody walking into the room or pulling some trick on you, okay? Anyway, this is it for now. Hope that you enjoyed this video. Probably is like 15 minutes long by now, but I really tried to give you as much value as possible. And I tried to approach this video from different angles. You know, I'm kind of pulling advice based on various questions I've been getting here on Udemy. Again, a lot of you have been asking me about confidence, about speaking on a camera, about doing virtual calls, and I hope that all of those tips will help you to become a more confident presenter, but also to feel more comfortable when you have any type of virtual meetup. So let me know what you think, and I want to wish you an amazing day.